Kenny Segal. I am originally from Maryland, though I've been in LA since '97, so I'm kind of an LA native at this point. I originally moved out here for college, and I was working on music and I was really into drum and bass at the time, though I was kind of into all sorts of music and making beats at the time, and hooked up with some drum and bass DJs, and through working with them, I used to DJ at this club called Concrete Jungle, which Daddy Kev threw back in maybe like '99, 2000. And all the Project Blowed guys used to hang out there, and that's how I first met Peace and Ab and Micah 9 and Bus Driver. And me and Peace started working on some stuff, and that kind of brought me into the whole fold of Project Blowed. My mom listened to all Motown oldies, so like I heard a lot of that. My dad was into classic rock, though he didn't really play a ton of music. My first music that I owned was a friend of mine in 5th grade. I remember his older cousin gave us this tape that had NWA, Straight Outta Compton on it, and it had Dougie Fresh, the Entertainer, and I also had 2 Live Crew. I think it was the Band, whatever was before the Band in the USA album, the one that had like Doo Doo Brown and all that shit on it. And I used to hide that tape in like the vent in my room because I was scared my parents were gonna hear that shit and like they're gonna take that shit from me. But that was one of my first musical experiences. And then when I first got a CD player around like when I was 13, like I had like one of those Discmen that first came out, and then I kind of veered away from hip hop. I was really into like 9 Inch Nails and industrial music, like a lot of electronic stuff, and like Aphex Twin, and I was into like really weird shit. And then I got into going to raves, and that got me into drum and bass. But I always liked hip-hop. Like I listened to a lot, like the hip-hop I listened to back in high school was like all East Coast stuff that was like Gangstar, J. the Damager, like all that type of stuff. I started playing piano when I was a little kid. I played cello starting in like 5th or 6th grade, all through middle school and high school. So I always came from a musical background. And I was also like the kid that was annoying the hell out of the conductor and the orchestra because I was like jamming, making up my own melodies instead of playing what they wanted me to play. So pretty early on, as soon as I first started making beats with this computer software that my parents had, like I downloaded off, before there was the World Wide Web. I don't know if you remember, this is some internet history. There was bulletin boards, and there was this whole scene of people that would make beats on the bulletin boards. And part of the trick of it was because modems were so slow, you had to you were using samples, but you had to use like under a megabyte of samples like in your whole track. So there's all these tricks of like chopping it up real crazy, and that kind of taught me a lot of hip-hop principles. Even though I was making other types of music, using that software like was a lot like using an MPC, and it was or more like even an SP1200 because it was so limited in the time of the samples that you could use. So that kind of first got me into making beats and stuff, and that happened maybe around like 9th or 10th grade. Always changing. Early on, when I first started working with hip-hop artists, I was making a lot of kind of jazzy breakbeat stuff, more like in the vein of like DJ Shadow and or even on some kind of East Coast kind of stuff sometimes. But I always get bored with any one style. I took a long transition where I was doing kind of somewhat electronic, but with different samples still. Lately, like this new project I'm working on with Jupiter is like no samples, all keyboard sounds, all synthesizers, incorporating a lot. Like one really exciting thing to me that's happening in Los Angeles is that a lot of people that came from a similar background to me is like being into drum and bass and other electronic music, and then but also loving hip hop and a lot of the kind of like more offbeat hip hop stuff like Madlib and J Dilla and stuff like that. A lot of those people are all coming to the forefront and like meshing all of those influences together, and it's kind of like not really important about like what genre your stuff is in anymore. Like everyone's kind of in this like melting pot genre that's like Los Angeles, and for someone like me that's really exciting because I feel like I can incorporate a lot of things that I've done over the years with different styles all into one new style, which is what I hope I'm kind of working on right now. The first thing that I really did was when I first met Peace, we did an album called Megabyte that came out on Battle Axe. We actually did it back in 2000, 2001, though it didn't come out till about 2004. I also did an album at that time with Phoenix Orion called 3080 Flux. That was like a hip-hop drum and bass project. I did an album with Dr. Oop that also was from that same time period, though that one didn't come out till 2006. And that's called Memoirs of Planet Lovetron. I did an album, I've been on a lot of Abs albums over the years. I'll always do like 1 or 2 songs. Pretty much all of Abs albums since Paint I've done like 1 or 2 songs on. And I've been on most of the Project Blowed like all the different albums on Project Blowed, like that have been kind of compilation things, like the 10-year anniversary, the Haiku d'etat. This is Kenny Segal, aka Ken Can Cook, one half of the Kleenrz, coming at you summer 2012 on Hellfire Records. Me and Self Jupiter, check it out.